Imagine being told that your home is no longer yours, not because you chose to leave, but because staying could cost you your life. Now imagine packing everything you own into a single bag and walking away, not knowing if you will ever return. And this is the reality of forced migration in Syria and Iraq. Forced migration in Syria and Iraq is one of the largest and longest running humanitarian crises of our time. Millions of people have not moved in search of opportunity, education, or better jobs. They have moved because violence, persecution, and collapse made survival impossible where they lived. In Syria, the crisis began in the year 2011 when peaceful protests were met with violent repression. What followed was a brutal civil war involving the Syrian state armed opposition groups, extremist organizations like ISIS, and foreign powers. Entire cities were bombed, neighborhoods were besieged, and civilian infrastructure such as hospitals, schools, and homes were systematically destroyed. As the fighting intensified, families had no choice but to flee. Today, more than half of Syria's pre war population has been displaced. Millions remain internally displaced, moving repeatedly within the country in search of temporary safety. Millions more crossed borders into neighboring countries like Turkey, Lebanon, and Jordan. Now, these people did not leave because they wanted to rebuild their lives elsewhere. They left because staying meant constant fear of death. Extremist violence added another terrifying layer to the displacement. Now, groups like ISIS carried out targeted attacks based on religion and identity. Minorities were singled out, threatened, and massacred. In many cases, people were given an ultimatum, which was to convert, flee, or die. Entire villages were emptied overnight, turning displacement into a matter of immediate survival. In Iraq, forced migration followed a slightly different but equally devastating path. Years of war, foreign intervention, and sectarian violence weakened the country long before ISIS emerged. And when ISIS seized large territories in the year 2014, millions of Iraqis were forced to flee. Even after ISIS was militarily defeated, many families could not return to their original homes. For many Iraqis, returning was not possible because homes had been destroyed, land had been seized, or communities were viewed with suspicion and collective punishment. Sectarian tensions, weak governance, and economic instability endured that displacement did not end with the end of fighting. For many, displacement became permanent rather than temporary. What is often overlooked is that forced migration does not end when bombs stop falling. People cannot return to places where there are no jobs, no schools, no hospital, and no security. Many displaced families remain trapped in camps or fragile urban settlements dependent on aid and unable to rebuild their lives with dignity. Today, some refugees face pressure to return, not because conditions are safe, but because host countries are overwhelmed. When return happens without safety or choice, it becomes another form of intimidation rather than a solution. Now, forced migration in Syria and Iraq is not a crisis of the past. It's an ongoing reality shaped by war, persecution, identity based violence, and state collapse. Until people can return home safely with dignity and security, millions will remain displaced not by choice but